Oh, hello. Sorry, I was just having a little wee party here because we've reached day 26 of... It's a very Hold on, I'll turn the music down. Here we go. Oh, gosh. Oh, sorry about that. I was having a little bit of a party. It's day 26 of Poems with PJ, and I thought we'd start today with some dancing, all right? Because obviously, the thing you want to see is dad dancing, right? I know that dad dancing can make an entire room disappear. All right, I know this for a fact because I practiced the dancing a little while ago and both my children have disappeared upstairs. It's almost like they're embarrassed to see me dance. Now, I know that I'm not an embarrassing dancer. I've danced in front of many people before. In fact, I've done poems about dancing before. I was working in a school called Tottington Primary not very long ago, and their teacher, they did something amazing. Mr. Hunt, he did flossing in front of his class. Now, you might remember flossing from a few years ago. Do you remember how all these fads go around schools when everyone had fidget spinners that span on their hands and their fingers? And a few years ago, people had loom bands that they were trying to make little bracelets out of. And then last year, everybody was doing the floss. Do you remember? It's when you got your arms in front of you like that and then you do a little bit of a wiggle like that. Well, we wrote a poem about that and it's called Bossing the Floss. So at the end of this poem, what we want you to do is we want you to do your very best flossing at home. I'll put the music back on and see if we can get a bit of music going, right? And the last line is, they flossed the whole day through. So maybe you can do your best flossing at home. See if you can get a bit of an active, a bit of a wiggle on in the afternoon. This one's called Bossing the Floss. What is that? Said teacher. We're flossing, said the kids. An eyebrow raised, the latest craze for teachers to forbid. And why was it called flossing? It really begged belief. Was it really true a dance move came from how he cleaned his teeth? You move your arms like this, sir, and then you go from side to side. You do a little wiggle, and then you floss away with pride. He looked about his classroom and he saw the smiling faces and then thought twice before he shouted, "Get back to your places!" He stood right there beside them and he learned the wiggle too. If you cannot beat them, join them. And they flossed the whole day through. No music, never mind, we'll floss the whole day through. Are you flossing at home? I was starting to get the music wouldn't work on my iPad. How annoying is that? Oh dear. But your flossing, I'm sure your flossing was brilliant at home. Give us a wave from home if you've done some excellent flossing in your living room. It must be better than my flossing here. It's enough flossing to make my children disappear. That's how good the flossing is. Now, talking of waving from home, please do give us a shout out. Please do leave some messages in the comments for us. And if you want to, start a watch party, share it amongst your friends, let everyone know about the show. And then, of course, we can read your poems out on the show too. Remember, you can send them to pauljenkinspoet@gmail.com and we'll we'll share your poems here. We'll also maybe share them on Rossendale Radio on a Thursday night as well. Now, talking of poems, I was having a conversation earlier with my family about Yorkshire puddings, right? We really love Yorkshire puddings, and somebody came up with a brilliant idea for a Yorkshire pudding recipe. To have Yorkshire puddings, but have baked beans and cheese on them. And I thought, that's an amazing recipe, that sounds fantastic. But the best Yorkshire puddings, they have to be made in Yorkshire. Now, I know this because I spoke to a poet called Ian Macmillan. Now, Ian Macmillan, if you've ever met him, he's one of the nicest men on the planet, right? He's a really lovely, generous poet, and he's really helpful, and he's been a big help to me during my poetry time. And Ian wrote an amazing poem about Yorkshire puddings and about how you make the very best Yorkshire pudding. And he knows, because he's from Yorkshire. Now, I'm not from Yorkshire, and I'm not going to try and do a Yorkshire accent today, because I have tried to do a Yorkshire accent before, and we received complaints, ladies and gentlemen. So I shan't be doing it today. But this is Ian's recipe for the perfect Yorkshire pudding. The tin must not gleam. It must never be new. If there is dried sweat somewhere in its metal, it must be your mother's. The flour must be strong and white as the face of Uncle Jack. when he came back from the desert. The eggs must come from an allotment, and the allotment must belong to your father-in-law. The eggs have to be broken with one swift movement over the bowl. If there is dried sweat somewhere in its pyrex, it must be your mother's. The milk must have been delivered by Colin Leach at 4:30 in the morning. The fork has to be an old one. And the wrist simply must ache after mixing. The flour must introduce itself to the yolk of the egg. The egg has to be allowed to talk to the flour. And the milk must dance with them both, foxtrot, then quickstep. The pepper must be scattered black on off-white. The oven has to be hotter than ever, and the lard has to come from a tight white pack, and the lard must allow them to catch fire in the oven, and the oven door must open, and you must shout, "Oh my goodness!" as the heat smacks you in the chops. Follow these rules, and the puddings will rise to heaven and far beyond. So, you can use that recipe maybe for creating the ultimate Yorkshire puddings. And if you've ever had a Yorkshire pudding, you'll know that they're big, giant, fluffy monsters that taste delicious. And I'm going to try that recipe with cheese and beans on a Yorkshire pudding. And there's probably some of you at home going, "Don't do it, you're not allowed, it's only allowed on a roast dinner." Well, I'm going to try some things out. That's what a lockdown can do to a man. Now, talking of the lockdown, we have had so many of your poems coming in. We've actually got so many today that we've had to ask some people to wait until tomorrow, and we're going to read their poems out tomorrow because we've had so many of them come in. Now, the first one is, I mentioned earlier on, Tottington Primary, where Mr. Hunt teaches. Well, also, another teacher there is Mr. Parrott. Hello, Mr. Parrott, how are you doing? Now, one of the pupils in his class, Flynn, he wrote an amazing poem that's a type of poem called a kenning. Now, kenning is brilliant because it uses metaphors, which is kind of ways of using like riddles to tell the story of something and almost ask you to guess the thing it's talking about. So this next poem that I'm going to do for you is Flynn. It's your kenning poem. And I'm not going to tell everybody what it's about to start with, but it's a character from something, and that's the only clue I'm going to give you. Now, Flynn's kenning poem goes like this. Lightsaber yielding, Imperial marching, Palpatine killing, scary breathing, mask wearer, Stormtrooper leader, Force choker, TIE advanced pilot, Jedi extinguisher, planet destroyer. That's quite a scary looking person. I don't think that's a good guy, do you? No, of course not. And here is Flynn's picture of the person it is, the character it is. This, of course, is Darth Vader. Okay, now we've got Darth Vader. Now this is Flynn's version of Darth Vader, and we've got, I thought, would be perfect time for our version of Darth Vader as well. What do you think? I think Darth Vader is going to be, right, he's going to be our person that's going to end up here. Now look who he can go with. Oh, yes, we had Yoda from the other day, so maybe Darth Vader is going to live up here with Yoda. What do you reckon, Darth? Do you want to live up on a unicorn with Yoda? Do you reckon that'll work? Guarantee he's going to fall off before the end of the show. What do you reckon? Yeah, he's sort of balancing up there at the moment. Is the Force strong with you? I don't know whether it is or not. Well, Flynn, thank you so much for your Darth Vader kenning poem. It's absolutely fantastic to receive stuff like that. And if you've been working on stuff, either in school or at home, and you're sending stuff to your teachers, please do send it to us at pauljenkinspoet@gmail.com. Now, the next one that we're going to read out is by Harry. Now, Harry has got in contact with the show because both Harry's poem and one of my poems have been chosen for a very special anthology of poems that are going to be released in a few weeks' time. All sorts of people are writing all sorts of different poems, and people young and old have written lots of different poems as well. I shared one of mine about Captain Tom earlier last week. Now, Harry has written this poem, and it's called Trapped, and it's quite a dark poem. It makes us feel like we're trapped inside, and actually that's one of the things about a good poetry book, is it will have some cheery poems that make us feel happy, and some poems that maybe make us feel a little bit scared. So Harry's written this poem, and it's called Trapped. Inside four walls, my mind is trapped. As I stay, it gets darker and darker. I feel like I'm on a slippery slope in a world without any hope. Doctors and nurses are trying their best as patients are putting them to the test. We need a cure to help some more, to get better and to fight this war. I wish this could be over, and I'm sure it will be soon. How I wish I could get this virus and throw it to the moon. And that's quite a dark poem in places, because it makes people feel like, oh no, I don't know what I'm going to be able to do. But then at the end, it's got that big uplift where you go, you know what, I'm going to take it, poof, I'm going to throw it to the moon. Right? I think that's a brilliant poem, Harry. The way that you've used rhyme there to kind of weave it together. But usually rhythm and rhyme is a kind of upbeat thing and making people feel all laughing and jolly. But you've used rhyme in a really kind of dark way to get inside about how we're all feeling. And I absolutely love that poem. Thank you so much. Now, somebody else who is going to be featured in that anthology of poems that we spoke about is a young girl called Ebony. Now, Ebony's in year 5 in her school, and she's written a whole bunch of poems. She's written loads of them. One of them, about Captain Tom, is going to be featured in the collection, but she's also sent to me another one of her poems she's got here. So, Ebony, hello, thank you for tuning into the show. And this one I thought was really clever and much different to some of the other poems we've had. We had one about Darth Vader, who's a dark villain, right? And we had one about how we feel when we're trapped inside. But this one is all about the months of the year. And it's really clever because it makes each time of the year, it doesn't do the months of the year in like January, February, March, April, May. It doesn't go in the order that we usually expect. It's like little snapshots of what the year's like. Like imagining that the calendar had been thrown up in the air and all the months had been scattered down in the wrong order. So this is Ebony's poem, and it's called My Favourite Months. June, the thunder strikes with rage. November, the beavers build their stage. January, the wolf howl echoes over the land. April, strawberries grow in the glinting golden sand. February, the icicles fade and melt. December, the cold moon, soft as felt. May, blossoms are enriched with bloom. July, sunflowers release perfume. March is when the worm casts form. September grows the buttery corn. October, the bears are as fat as can be. August, the sturgeons are swimming free. Calm and happy. I'm glad to be me. What a lovely way of looking at the world. It's not all in one order. It's not in January, February, March, April. Actually, it's just, I remember what November's like, and I remember what April's like. And there's some lovely images you've got there. I love the way that you said the cold moon was as soft as felt. Now, I don't know. I've never been to the moon, but I love the idea that when I get up there, it might be as soft as felt. It's probably not rough rocks. It can look as soft as felt. What a lovely way to describe the moon and to use your imagination to create all these worlds. Brilliant work, Ebony. Absolutely love that. And I'm looking forward to reading some more of your poems as well, because you sent me loads of them this morning. So thank you very, very much indeed. If you've got any of your poems that you want to share, please do send them over to pauljenkinspoet@gmail.com. And if you've got friends who've written poems at home as well, tell them to. Everybody's welcome in. And that goes for you as well, adults, right? There's loads and loads of grown-ups who I know who have sent a few poems in, and we're actually going to have a grown-up special in a few days' time. Now, those were the poems of other people, and I'm going to finish with one more poem today. Some sad news in that all of our favourite sporting events, they've disappeared. And I saw on the news the other day that one of the things that we usually have, right, during the summer is Wimbledon, which is where the tennis matches happen on the grass courts down in London. And Ebony mentioned strawberries in her poem. Everybody's usually eating strawberries and cream, sitting out in the sunshine. Of course, none of that's going to happen this year. Now, one of the poems that I wrote a long while ago was about when my two boys, they used to play tennis at the local tennis club. And we used to go down there, and sometimes they would play each other, and sometimes they would watch other families play as well. And this one was called Game, Set and Match. And this is about that. Now, the place that they used to go was called Holcombe Brook Sports Club. So that's the first line of this poem. And I want you to imagine what it must be like to be outside playing some of those sports that maybe we can't play at the moment. And maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, by the end of the summer, we might be able to go back to the parks and maybe play with each other. Let's keep our fingers crossed that we'll be able to go out again. Game, Set and Match. Holcombe Brook Sports Club. A floodlit court. The sun has gone down and the players have brought their rackets and balls for the ultimate test, to seek out the champ, to find out who's best. We walk out and knock up, the tension grows fast, and memories fly of the battles from past. The bragging rights tied as we're 2 for 2. This time, I'm gonna get you. Serving with style and approaching the net to volley and take every chance we can get to speedily sprint as it lands on the line. Forehand or backhand, the winner is mine. The points start to build up to 15, then 30, a slice and a lob. This opponent plays dirty by placing a body shot fast at my face. The instinct kicks in and I take over the pace to deliver a drop shot, a killer return. As 40 is reached, it's a game point well earned. Now my opponent has fire in her belly, and just like those old pros that you see on the telly, she is Serena and I'm Andy M. I serve, but she comes back again and again to take us to juice, and the pressure to break. She starts to dissect every shot that I make. Advantage to her brings a gasp from the crowd. A small group of people has now gathered round, for now they can see that we're evenly matched. And now want to see as my serve is dispatched at this critical time in my tennis career. I dish out an ace. And the crowd start to cheer. I focus, I rally, I bring the points home. Serena's supporters all let out a moan as we meet in the middle, shake hands at the net, and then turn round to take the applause that we get from our entourage, holding bags and the drinks and giving supportive parental winks. Then, glowing with pride, we get back in the car. My sister and I, the Wimbledon Stars. Maybe you've got brothers and sisters at home. Maybe you have competitions with them. And it might be that you have competitions about playing tennis or playing football, or it might be you have competitions about who gets to the table first for dinner, or who tidies away the plates best, or who can tidy up their room quickest. Because I bet you all do that, right? Well, I hope you've had a lovely time this afternoon. Hope you've enjoyed listening to some more poems with me. And please do keep sending me your poems, because the best bit about our show, I think, is sharing your poems and getting them out there and making you the stars of the show. Stay safe, everybody. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for Poems with PJ. Remember, sending them to pauljenkinspoet@gmail.com. Also, if you've got time this evening between 7 and 8, listen out to Rossendale Radio. That's www.rossendaleradio.com. It's the family fun time hour, and I'll be sharing some of the poems from this week on the radio show as well. But stay safe, everybody. We'll see you very soon. Bye-bye now.